Hey guys, welcome back. The day we have been looking forward to has arrived. We're going to take a shakedown test ride on the Z1-R. First, I'm going to go over some things that I had to overcome, some challenges, some problems that I think you'll find really interesting, and then we'll get on it and take a test ride. I will use that knockoff GoPro knockoff camera, action camera. I changed the settings in it to better accommodate hopefully wind noise and things like that. No promises. I'll see what footage I can use. Yeah, you're going to find in this video that old saying about using everything including the kitchen sink actually is pretty accurate. You can see we have a new Kirker exhaust system installed. I had to do some modifications on that, go figure, like modify everything. The header part is fine, header part lined up perfectly. I do need to replace the O-rings again on the gasket seals for the exhaust. I can hear one. I did test run it here on the lift for just a little bit to kind of season in the pipes. That's what my customer, the owner, wants me to do. I've never heard that before, but I used a pair of gloves when I put this on so there wouldn't be any hand oil on it. I used several pairs actually, and then wiped everything down with a microfiber and rubbing alcohol and just dried the hell out of it, and then I ran it, and so they should be seasoned up enough, but I think I'll run it one more time tomorrow. But anyway, I had to do some modification because the muffler side is wrong. The slip-on side is incorrect. I don't know what the correct one is for this, and I did look, but this part number here, which is upside down to you, I looked it up online, and on the Dennis Kirk ordering system, it says it does not fit a 78 Z1-R. So that makes sense because I could not get any of the brackets that came with it to line up. What it's supposed to do, according to the Kirker instructions, this is supposed to line directly up with that. So it's supposed to have a muffler that's lower. And I don't know if he's going to like all this. I explained it to him, but I said, what do you want me to do? He said, just make it work. So I did. Now he gave me another package, which was a vintage 80s Kirker installation kit for an exhaust that he picked up somewhere, and with that I took the bracket and I modified it. This piece was way down here. Let me zoom up for you. This piece here was down there, much lower, and so I put it on the mill to mill away the weld, and then moved it and re-welded it and painted it. So that works out pretty well. I made a spacer on the lathe, polished it up nice, and it does have the rubber grommet damper like it's supposed to. And of course these are the OEM bushings that go in to hold the original exhausting, because it did come with a 4-in-1. So yeah, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I don't know if he's going to be okay with the looks of it, and I think the looks are pretty good. Let's kind of step back here a little bit. Step back and show you what I mean. I think it's pretty cool. I sort of like it. It's obviously incomplete, but with the tank on it, it starts to make some sense. And I do have the seat that's got to go on tomorrow morning. I just don't have time to do it now because I got to put those rubber feet on. That I have brand new ones that hit the frame, and then I can pop the seat on. I also have to put the latch in on the back here. The biggest problem I had was on the other side. I had to make some modifications to number one's intake pod. Now, this is not the way it's going to stay permanently, but it's the only thing I could do right now. And the problem is the fuel cock hits the pod. Now, this thing had the exact same pods on it, not these particular ones, but the exact same ones that I made sure I bought the same ones when it came in here, but they were in pretty bad shape. So I'm talking about the same size, the same shape, the whole bit. And you'd have to ask yourself, well, how did it fit with that? If they're the same ones, how did it fit? And I asked myself the same question. Of course, I can't remember shit, so I looked at video number one when I was going over this thing, and I saw that what had happened was whoever had this on essentially took it and pushed the tank back a little bit, and so this was further behind. So in other words, if this is in the right position, it would be more back here, but it still contacted the pod. And I'll show you a clip and B-roll here on this video where I was talking about these pods, and I just touched this one and it fell off, and I just kind of tossed it aside. So it essentially damaged that pod. So they didn't do anything other than move the tank back, like I said. And I'm not doing that because that screws up where the seat goes, and it screws everything up. So, you know, I have the rubber doodads on the frame where this sits, and the two brand new rubber ones that go into the little U-shaped cups. Those are new, but the tank is where it's supposed to be, and that's where I want to put it. So the only way to solve this right now is to put an extension. So what I did was this piece of rubber here is actually like a velocity stack from the Magna. There's 4 of them in the Magna intake, in the intake box side. Some bikes have them that look like this, that look like these, all right, and I think the Sabres did. The Magna's got rubber ones, and that's what this is. And it just turned out to be the right size because it's a 46 millimeter or 43 millimeter or something like that. 42 millimeter OD on the back of the carb, and it fit just nice. And I cut it down to size, and I machined a sleeve that makes the connection. So it fits in here, goes in that backside. Washed the hell out of everything to make sure there was no chips or anything on it, and dried them up good, and then put them on. So it works, and it's nice and solid. Whether it's going to change the airflow dynamics on this carb, I mean, it has to at least somewhat, but it may not be too much of a change out of parameters to make any impact on, you know, performance. So I hope it doesn't, but it's the only thing I could think of right now. The only other option I can think of is I'm going to reach out to Pingle Enterprises and send them a couple of pics and measurements of the OEM fuel cock off the bottom of the tank at least, or maybe some other reference, and ask them if they have a fuel cock that will make a better solution that'll fit a Z1-R tank. I would rather have a Pingle anyway, just on, off, and reserve, or just on, off, whatever it is. And they're much better quality than these, even though I rebuilt this fuel cock, this OEM one. But you know, I mean, it's nothing fits on this bike. I mean, nothing fits. Everything's got to be massaged into place, everything, and it's like a battle, constant battle. So, okay, so anyway, again, this is going to be for testing purposes at this point, and we'll come up with the solution may be, I'll come up with a solution for it, but the permanent solution may be just to do this, but do it better. I don't know yet, so I'm going to have to do some research. I did a quick look online using the Google machine. I can't find anybody posting anything on a forum on how to solve this on a Z1-R to put pods on it, because remember, this thing had a stock airbox, okay? And so if you think about it, this rubber here is about the same diameter as the one that would go out to the stock airbox, which would terminate about right there, or it would enter it about right there, probably in an angle like this. So there's plenty of room for it with a stock airbox. There's just not enough room for it with this diameter. And yes, I did look for other pods to buy 4 more that had a very small profile. I can't find any. And if you think about it, how are you going to do that? Because you can't just have it straight out. It's got to have a bigger section. Otherwise, there's nothing for it to go into. So unfortunately, this is what it is right now, and we're just going to have to use it as is and see what happens. So anyway, chain's done. I did rivet the master stinks down here this morning, and so that's done. And yeah, so anyway, I don't think there's anything else, and if there is, I forget, I'll just bring it up really quick in the morning. But it's too late in the day now, like I said, to get it off and try it, but it'll be instantaneous for you. So tomorrow we'll get back on this, take it for a test ride, and see how it goes. All right, folks, this is how we're going to solve this issue. Again, this is temporary, unless it works. And I talked to a gentleman at Pingle Enterprises, I believe his name was Craig, and explained my situation, and his suggestion was to put an inline shutoff in. And what they have to do that is it's an M22 by 1.0 thread pitch. He knew this off top of his head, what this this male is coming off the bottom of the tank. And they have essentially a swivel, an outside nut, and then an inside one that the nut rides on, like this one. I'm not really sure what that's called. That way you can clock it, tighten this up, and go up against it just like the original petcock is with a seal. And it has a 90-degree barb fitting coming off of it, a brass barb fitting. So kind of looks like that barb fitting there. So it's a single. I'll explain why I'm doing that here in a second. and it's 5/16 OD. It's a little bit bigger than this, but I know I'm going to switch over this crappy fuel line anyway over to some Motion Pro, and I can get the Motion Pro technically 1/4 inch ID to go over no problem because it's very flexible and actually fits pretty well in that application. And then we'll have good flow, and the reason why I'm going to do a single is I'm pretty sure that the flat slides that the owner wants me to put on this, which are out for restoration at the same place right now, I think that's a single inlet if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure it is. So if it is, then I don't want a dual outlet. They do have a dual outlet universal inline fuel cock, but it's a completely different design of the one I'm going to show you here. That's what I ordered, the chrome one. So I think it's going to be a lot nicer. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it yet. I don't know. So basically, that's going to eliminate this sticking down. He said that the maximum depth of that from the tank is about 25 mil, which is 1 inch. So it's going to be about to here. So it'll just clear that. It'll be over on this more radius side of this. And again, I can clock the fitting any way I want. So that's what we're going to do for a permanent solution. Now this is what I'm talking about. This is the right angle fuel tap that comes right off the discharge bung on the bottom of the tank that has the M22 1.0 thread pitch. But this is not the one from Pingle. I made this one in a couple hours of work this morning. I'm going to show you how I did that real quick because you're going to absolutely love this, where I sourced some parts for this. Now, as I said, the bung on the bottom of the fuel tank where the petcock screws in, that is an M22 by 1.0 threads. That's the pitch, 1.0. That's what the gentleman, Craig, I think his name was, from Pingle Enterprises told me. So I said, well, what else is that used on? So I Googled it, and I found an unusual location where that is a fairly common size and thread pitch. I'll show you what I used here real quick. Piece is right here. That's where I got it from. And literally from the kitchen sink. So I took that piece off of the sink first, and I tested on the bottom of the tank, and it threaded up there. I did measure the pitch with a thread gauge, and it looked like it was 1.0. So I said, no way. And sure as heck, it threaded up there. So that is an M22 by 1.0 thread pitch on the end of the faucet where the diffuser goes. And that's what that piece is for. It trims out the end of the faucet, but it's for the diffuser. So then I cleaned it up and just took it over to the lathe and just skim bored the inside diameter with a sharpened tool. And this is what it looked like when I did that. Just cleaned up that material, because that is really brass. It's just coated brass, like chromed brass. So that's the key here, because I can solder brass. So what I did then was I found a piece of another piece of brass to make a plug to fit inside there. So I turned that plug down, and I made it just a slight smaller than that bore. So it was a slip fit. That way there's room for the solder to go around. I didn't want to make a press or an interference fit. So then I soldered it, as I was talking about before. And once I got it soldered, this is what it looked like. And then I ended up taking a 90-degree brass elbow. I keep these in stock that have the barbs on each end. I put that in the forejaw. What I ended up doing was I first dialed it in, around, so it's not terribly running out. I got it within about 4 or 5 thou, and then I ran the carriage back and forth over it with the indicator to make sure it was fairly parallel with the center of the spindle, which it was. Amazing with that setup too. So now we're back on the plug itself for the bung, and I drilled it and I reamed the hole slightly undersized for what I turned that 90-degree barb for. And this is what that bottom piece looks like with the seal in it. I robbed the seal off the original petcock and stuck it in there. I did bore some clearance, some relief in there for the seal, like the OEM one does have, so it fit good. Then I installed it on the tank and tested it, and you can see I tightened it up, and then I used a red marker and clocked it for where I think I want the elbow to point, because what I ended up doing was I pressed the elbow into the fitting and didn't want to solder it in case I still needed to turn it. And then I installed on the tank, and it looked really good. And as you can see here, we got plenty of clearance. So that's where we'll take it from here to show you what we got as far as the finished product goes, at least temporary finished product. So that's where we'll pick it up from here to show you the least temporary finished product. We have the bung here. That's of course up in the tank. This is that piece from that sink. And then the 90-degree elbow, this is the part that's pressed in. I changed out some of the fuel line with Good Motion Pro 1/4 inch gray stuff. I don't have enough to do it all right now. I need to order more because I'm not leaving this crap in here that the carburetor guy used. But I did have to use some of it for this this particular setup. Inside there, you can kind of barely see it, is a garden variety fuel shutoff. That's going to be taking the place of the one I'm getting from Pingle. I don't exactly know where that one's going to get mounted, but for now, that's where this one's going to be. So when I go to turn it on and off, may have to pop the seat up for it. I don't know if that's going to be permanent or not because there just isn't any room in here to do much. Maybe I can run it where it comes out here, but you don't want any long, dips or highs in this fuel delivery. You really want it fairly level and straight in there. So I don't know yet. Once I get the parts from them, I will make that final decision. So again, we're going to be getting a new one of these. I wouldn't necessarily trust this forever, although it does not leak. And of course, replace all the fuel line, as I said. So yeah, so when you tell somebody that, or I can tell somebody that I used everything on this job, including the kitchen sink, I'm not bullshitting. I actually did use part of the kitchen sink. So let's go ahead and get it down, and let's see what this sucker will do.
Ran out of gas.
Well guys, we're all done with this one. Now here's where we're at. Now I shot some footage yesterday and it came out like crap on that knockoff action cam. And then I shot some more today, same camera, still came out like crap. And so I shot a third set, which you're hopefully going to see in this video with the ancient GoPro. I'm sorry it wasn't that long, but I ended up running out of gas pulling into the driveway. I can't put a lot of gas in this thing because I got to keep taking the tank on and off for stuff. So anyway, that leads me to the carburetors. Now, between yesterday and today, what I ended up doing was I pulled the carbs off and I changed the 20s back to the 25s on the slow jets. Because getting off the throttle, I mean, she just wants to drop dead. You get about 3,500, 4,000, quarter throttle, half throttle. It pulls like a freight train. And I'm not going to go wide open throttle or run it real hard because I'm still working on braking. Just some roll-ons, roll-offs, roll-ons, roll-offs. and then we'll get to that point where we kind of hammer it at a later time. But that later time is going to include different carbs anyway, so I'm not going to fiddle with these anymore. We're going to be putting a set of flat slides on this, as I indicated earlier in the video, so it really doesn't make any sense to screw with these anymore. So I tell you what I learned from doing this video and working on this bike. This is going to be a very fun bike to ride on a regular basis. The ergos are excellent. It's very comfortable. The seat is excellent. The brakes are excellent. Once we get the engine performance dialed in and it's nice and smooth all the way up from idle to whatever throttle you so choose, it's going to be a blast to ride, no question about it. So that segues into what happens next. You're not going to see this for a while because I got to do other things to it that are really not video worthy. You just got to continue on the work, restoring different parts, things like that. Next time you see it will probably be a heck of a lot more complete than it is now, and we'll have those flat slides on. We'll take it for another ride then. But anyway, yeah, so I'm real happy with it, but it's not perfect, but it's not going to be until we put the carbs on that he wants on there. Finally, what did you learn from this video? Well, I hope that you learned that don't just look around your shop for something you need to make something. Look inside your house. Think of household plumbing. Who knew that that part would fit that? You got to think outside the box sometimes. Outside the box, all right? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you got something out of this video. I sure did. I enjoyed doing it, and I enjoyed sharing it with you. So if you like what you saw, you know what to do. Thanks for watching. Catch you on next video.